Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Today we are going over to Harley-Davidson of Scottsdale. If you're new to this channel, you'll know that I just recently bought this 2018 Harley-Davidson Heritage 114. I've put about 5,000 miles on it over the course of about the last 5 months. I'm interested now that I have some experience under my belt riding on this bike, which I absolutely love, to see what these new 2019 models have to offer. So not only what's new for 2019, but just the platforms in general, and we'll see you know, what the difference is and kind of reconfirm whether or not I think I made the right choice in my bike. Today we are going to be throwing our leg over the FXDR, a bike I'm extremely interested in from a curiosity standpoint. The way I ride, wouldn't buy one because most of my riding is on the highway, and I really enjoy my Heritage with the windscreen, but I'm very curious. I love the 114 on my bike, so I'm very curious to know what it'll feel like on a much lighter, sportier platform. This is a unique bike for Harley, and they have a lot more unique bikes coming out. Very interesting to see how this bike rides on the highway. Mainly I'm curious, I've never ridden a bike on a highway without a windscreen, so that's going to be a fun little new thing for me. Wow, this is incredibly different riding position from my Heritage. I can tell you right now, my back does not want anything to do with this riding position for a bike long term. That's a really positive click in there. Let's see why Blockhead bought this bike. So this is the same 114 that is in my Heritage. The difference being obviously a much lighter bike with a much sportier riding position. It throws into corners pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with that. I think you can tell that you're fighting that bigger rear tire a little bit, but this is really so far impressed me, and I've only done 30 miles an hour. Oh, we're gonna stop here. You feel like this is my first time really riding on like on a sportier bike, and when you hit those brakes, you feel like you're going to get thrown over the handlebars, more so than what my Heritage is. A different feeling for me, but that's just standard in that more aggressive front-leaning type of stance. So you get the same digital RPMs that you get on my Heritage on the display here. Pretty nice. I do wish they had maybe a little bit more of a display here. Maybe like this whole thing is like a digital display. Would have been a little more, I don't know, innovative maybe. I also feel like I'm going to lose my wallet in this seating position. Yeah, that's got some bark. And man, that air cleaner right next to you, like that kind of front facing, has some additional extra little growl kind of coming out of the motor. Certainly more barky than my bike is with the same size motor. I am not used to foot pegs. I'm used to foot boards, so there's a little bit of like a insecurity feeling like my foot's gonna fall off the board, but man, this thing's just that 114 on this lighter bike is just incredible. Woo! And now this is also my first understanding of why they say a windscreen on the highway is a great thing. I'm at 70 miles an hour. I mean, it's really not terrible. You hear people say, like, you feel like you have to hold on for dear life. You do feel like a little bit like a parachute, but really for the most part it's really not bad. I wouldn't want to do this daily on my ride to work for 30 miles each way. It would be a little bit exhausting, but this isn't terrible. I'm actually really pleasantly surprised with this. Real clean air, no buffeting at all. You just feel a little bit on your chest, but man, this thing has some get up and go to it. mirror placement, I can't see anything. I can't really see anybody behind me at all. But you know, as far as a sporty bike for Harley-Davidson, this is really, really incredible. I feel like that fat tire, I feel like they could have gone maybe a little bit less aggressive with that. They did that more for look than performance. You know, you can certainly feel when you're pushing in that it wants to fight you a little bit. I would maybe go with a little bit more of a narrower tire. It's weird that this clutch feels quite a bit different than my Heritage, but I believe it's the same setup. I'm not sure if it's because it's a newer bike that maybe it's just broken in different, but the clutch take-up is very different on this FXDR than it is on my Heritage. So anybody with information on that, drop a comment down below on why that might be. I'm really kind of baffled by that a little bit. But this dual counterbalance motor on these things is just, it's so smooth. I mean, for a bike that has the power that this thing does, it's not rattling the fillings out of your teeth. This is a bike that if I lived, you know, 5 miles from work, this would have been the kind of bike that I would have went for. I had to go with something geared a little more towards the touring size or touring side, which the Heritage to me was the perfect balance between sporty and touring without getting the extremely heavy bike underneath me. But again, if I was on a short ride, you know, this would be a bike that I would go for. It's even handling, I'm actually hitting those manholes on purpose, and you know, it doesn't send a shock up your spine. It's a really good composed, it's a stiff suspension. Certainly I wouldn't want to sell it as a smooth suspension, but it doesn't send chills up your spine when you hit either. This is also a bike, in my opinion, that is one of those things, I don't like seeing it online. I don't like seeing the pictures of it online. I feel like I don't know, I just didn't really like it all that much, but seeing it in person, it's a totally different bike seeing it in person. And I've heard other people say that, and I didn't necessarily totally believe it, but I do now. I mean, in person, this is just a really, really sharp bike. I can tell you, maneuverability wise, my Heritage feels more maneuverable than this FXDR, and I mean, I 100% mean that. I mean, as you're pushing this bike around, it just feels like it doesn't want to come around with you as much. So that, to me, I would credit to that fat tire in the rear. I feel like if you were ripping this thing around in some twisties, you really, really would be working hard to keep it you know, in that corner. I feel like it would want to drift out, as you know, when you're trying to go outside, inside, outside, I feel like it would go outside and you'd be fighting it to stay middle and then coming out hot on the outside. And maybe that's just because I'm not familiar with the more aggressive, sportier riding position. However, I do feel like that fat rear tire is to blame for that. If you want to watch Blockhead's review on his bike, I'll link that up above. He did an unveiling of his bike and kind of goes through his impressions of it. Obviously, he's well, he bought the bike, so he just does a really good unveiling of his bike. So again, I'll just link that up above. I'm also in 5th gear right now at 2,000 RPM. I'm guessing this bike wants to be in 4th to really get into that torque and horsepower band, but being that I'm on this demo ride right now, I don't want to be you know, screaming out the rear end of the exhaust with this bike at 4,000 RPM. That would be a bit of a dick move. Yeah, you really got to push it down in that corner. Sharp bike. Now I'm back here on my 2018 Heritage. So thank you guys very much. Again, if this is your first time tuning in, please click that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel, and we will see you next time.